What is up, the Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. We're back here once again, and you already know what time it is. It is that time to bust that rhyme. We're talking about that slime going down the line. You know, it is what it is. One thing's for certain, and three things are for sure. When you see me in front of your TV, number one, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. Number two, we came to give you stats, not none of that static. And number three, perhaps the most important number of them all, number three. Want to make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And you may be asking yourself, how, Don? How, Mr. P, does one keep the Lions news pragmatic? Well, it's very simple. I'll tell you, you know I don't hide nothing from you. You have to smash like button. You have to subscribe, and then you have to share with your peoples. And once you've done these things, in any order in which you've done these things, you've indeed kept your Lions news pragmatic. And speaking of your peoples, because sharing is indeed caring. Once you've shared this stream with your mothers, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your cousins, your uncles, your brothers, your fathers, your sisters, your mothers, you name it, you have indeed cared about these people. What up to everybody in the chat? What up, though, Tactical Sport? What up, though, Zach J? What up, though, to the people who are lurking and twerking and smirking and working while they're lurking? And if you're doing anything else that rhymes with that, I don't really want to know. I really don't want to know. You can keep that to yourself. Hell no, Karen. Keep your bland ass potato salad to yourself. Look, we got some things that we're going to get into today, man. Detroit Lions free agency is fast approaching. There are mock drafts out there. There are lots of things in the chatosphere as far as off-season stuff. Now, in case you guys hadn't heard the news, Bradley Chubb is no longer a Miami Dolphin. Okay? Let me pull this up for you. Hold on. Okay, that took a little bit longer to load than I remember it taking. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Stuff's just not snapping. It's not snappy. Okay, stuff's not responding. All right, let me see if I can pull it up elsewhere. Because I don't know what's going on with that one. All right, here is an article. Okay, now that I get the article on the other thing, now this one want to pop up. Lord have mercy. Sometimes you just can't, you know. All right, here is an article on the negative end of Bradley Chubb. All right. And this is for Detroit Lions, from Detroit Lions on SI by John Macaron. It says why Detroit Lions should avoid free agent pass rusher Bradley Chubb. Okay. And we'll go over some stats and things of that nature as well as this article. All right. Let me get the split right. Okay. All right. So, a veteran defensive end that could interest several NFL teams. just hit the free agency market. Linebacker Bradley Chubb, who will turn 30 this summer, was cut by the Miami Dolphins, according to multiple reports. Chubb had cap hits north of $31 million the next 2 seasons, so parting ways saved the AFC East squad $7,343,500 in 2026, but comes with a hefty dead cap hit of $23.859 million. If the former Denver Broncos linebacker is designated a post June 1 cut, the dead cap hit would be spread over the next 2 years. In a blockbuster trade back in 2022, Miami sent the Denver Broncos a first-round pick, a future fourth-round pick, and running back Chase Edmonds in exchange for Chubb and a future fifth-round pick. Chubb paid dividends early in his tenure in 2023. He recorded 11 sacks, 73 tackles, 22 QB hits, and 6 forced fumbles. Unfortunately, he suffered a torn anterior cruciate ligament, which is the ACL, if you didn't know, in week 17, missing the entire 2024 season. Okay. In 2025, he recorded 8.5 sacks, 47 tackles, 8.5 sacks, and 20 quarterback hits. I think he did 8.5 sacks twice. So that would mean he had 17 sacks. While the Detroit Lions are in need of more pass rushers, this year's draft class is quite deep. NFL draft analyst Daniel Jeremiah shared this might be a year where a team adds 2 defensive ends, given the quality and depth available. Jeremiah recently shared on social media, if you need an edge rusher, it is a good draft to double up. The depth of the class is impressive. I've got 10 guys worthy of a spot in top 50 players. There's another layer of traitsy players beyond that group. According to those with knowledge of Chubb's time in Miami, the veteran pass rusher was the beneficiary of a lot of sacks that were of the cleanup variety. His pass rush prowess was described as being quite inconsistent. That's something that we need to address. My boy, Aquim. Aiden Hutchinson has voiced his support for AQM. Maybe we'll hit up Brad and let AQM know that it's time to come back. Want to retain his services, so on and so forth. As we know, AQM had 11 sacks or 11 and a half. But categorizing a lot of Bradley Chubb sacks as the cleanup variety and not addressing a lot of AQM sacks as something similar would be a disservice. So we'll get back to that later. Detroit currently has Ahmed Hassanin on the roster. And we'll also want to see what Josh Pascal, Levi Onwuzurike, and Mekhi Wingo can still bring to the table. I'm going to try something different. They will want to see what Levi Onwuzurike and Josh Pascal can bring to the table. Because they haven't seen already what Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike could bring to the table. We shouldn't get Bradley Chubb because this draft class is full of potential edge talent. I'm going to ask you guys a question. Does Brad Holmes respect the trenches at all? Because here's the thing. I talked about recently how Brad Holmes has spent very little draft capital, and when I say draft capital, I mean worthwhile draft capital. I'm not talking about 6th round picks and 5th round picks. I'm talking about serious capital like first rounders and second rounders. Hell, even third rounders. Brad Holmes has spent more draft capital on the defensive line than he has spent on the offensive line. 1 first round pick on offense, 1 first round pick on defense. Right? But he did spend a couple of seconds and a third. I'm sorry, 2 first round picks because of this past year with Tyleik Williams. Okay. So actually, he's done more on the defensive line as far as draft picks than he has on the offensive line. As I said, 1 first round draft pick on the offensive line, and that's Penei Sewell. Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker were not Brad Holmes picks. They were actually picked by Bob Quinn. You can argue that just because he used a first round pick this past draft on the defensive line doesn't mean it was the right pick. Doesn't mean it was the right position. But it was an attempt. So he's got 2 first round picks on the defensive line, 1 first round pick on the offensive line. He's got 2 second round picks on the defensive line, 1 second round pick on the offensive line. Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike, right? I believe they were both second round picks. He's got 1 third round pick on the defensive line and Aleem McNeil. No third round picks on the offensive line. He wasted a 3rd round pick on Broderick Martin to put him on the defensive line. Again, no 3rd round picks on the offensive line. Jonah Jackson was a 3rd round pick of Bob Quinn. Then you have to go to the 5th round for the next highest drafted offensive lineman. 5th round, the 6th round, so on and so forth. I'm sorry. You have to go to the 4th round if you want to talk about Manu. That was also a terrible pick, just like Broderick Martin. So my question is this, and I already asked you, do you think that Brad Holmes cares about the trenches at all? Because even the 1st round pick, the 2nd first round pick that we used on the defensive line in Brad Holmes' tenure was underwhelming. Second round picks have been underwhelming. 3rd round pick Aleem McNeil has been decent. He's struggled with health at times. Then you gave him a contract, and now he's got a $29 million cap hit. Overall, the contract's not looking great to this point. I know he just came off of a season-ending injury the season before last. And then last season, he didn't look great. And he was also often playing out of position because for some crazy reason, they had him playing edge. And they had 300-pound Tyus Lacey playing edge. And they had 290-pound Tyrus Wheat. I don't know his measurables. Okay. But he was playing edge. We had Marcus Davenport playing edge, doing nothing, just trying not to get hurt. So when we say, oh, there's 10 guys that play the edge rushing position that are in the top 50 and traitsy guys, okay, beyond that. So double up. Brad Holmes sure likes to double up, but he's never doubled up on edge rushers. He's doubled up on corners. He's doubled up on guards, defensive tackles, so on and so forth. But he's never doubled up on edge rushers. Let me see. Let me see what you guys got to say. Absolutely nothing. Them guys will bring nothing. That would be Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo, and Josh Pascal. Mekhi Wingo, Mr. Healthy Scratch himself. Is that what we're doing? Don't even think they know where the table is. What can they bring to the table? Well, they can't because they don't know where it is. You don't bring nothing to the table when you're on IR. This is true. You might as well just give me the money. That would be fantastic. I would love that. What up, though, Irv Gotti? He says, if Davenport is re-signed, fans better be at Sheila's office demanding that that he be out of the Lions administration. Let's get to some Bradley Chubb stats. Okay. I think we got to most of them. Right. He returned for the 2025 season after missing all of 2024, playing a full 17-game slate and recording 8.5 sacks. Okay. Now, just that stat alone makes this argument for me. We're paying Aleem McNeil $29 million this year unless they restructure. That's his cap hit. Aleem McNeil came back from the same injury and didn't really produce. Bradley Chubb comes back from that injury and gets 8.5 sacks and 47 tackles. Bradley Chubb is just a better class of player than Aleem McNeil. We love our guys so much that we won't do anything in free agency because we're afraid of messing up the chemistry and the culture and so on and so forth and the like. However, when you have a better quality of player, you probably should bring that guy in. just like a better quality of coach. What are the Detroit Lions going to do on defense? Are we going to keep plugging along, doing the same old thing and expecting a different result? Are we going to keep playing man every play? Are we going to keep putting a Lee McNeil out there at defensive end? There's a philosophy issue with this defense that we've talked about. We've talked about it ad nauseum. So we're gonna talk about some other things. I got some other articles, and it ties into the defense. So before I dive into that one, we'll get to that article. You heard it here first. The Lions will re-sign Davenport. I'm telling you this so that when it happens, you won't be disappointed. If and when it happens, I will be disappointed and I will crash out. For sure, I will crash out. I hope Marcus Davenport saved his money because the NFL is not for him. Like, it's just not for him because he's constantly getting injured. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, said I'm already disappointed. All right, let's get to this other article that I had. Should we go with this one? All right, 5 things the Detroit Lions probably aren't doing this offseason. This one is Mike Payton, and you know how I feel about Mike Payton. So let's see what we've got here. We talk an awful lot about what the Detroit Lions could do, should do, and shouldn't do. We don't often talk a lot about what they just probably won't do. Today, we've got 5 things that we feel very comfortable about saying the Lions won't do. Let's talk about them and also talk about why. This is true. This is true. If he is re-signed, that truly tells a story about Brad's recruiting ability, especially his past recruiting mistakes. We need to start a bingo card of all the offseason things we think Brad will or won't do. All right. Well, here we're going to start with that right now. All right. Something they won't do is sign Tyler Linderbaum. There's no doubt that the Lions need a center. They need it more than anything this offseason. There is no better center on the board than Linderbaum. The problem is he's not really on the board and will probably never make it to the board. Okay. I can accept that. The confusing thing is that the Ravens didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and from the outside, that looks like the team is not going to bring him back. In reality, it's the Ravens doing some cap gymnastics. They don't want to pick up that option because offensive line options are the same for every position. So you've got a center with a left tackle cap hit in 2026 if they went with it. So instead of paying that, you just make him the highest paid center in the league before free agency starts, and that's that. Make it up to him on the contract. The Lions might want him, but they'll probably never have a shot unless there's some sort of falling out with the Ravens in the negotiations. That's fair. That's completely fair. You don't begrudge a man because he returned to his team. And you don't begrudge a team because they were doing cap gymnastics. So if they don't get him because of that, then you move on. You've got other options. The thing that I would be upset about is if he was available and you didn't do anything. That's the thing I'm upset about. All right. Number 2 on the list of things that they probably won't do is trade for Max Crosby. If the Raiders want a Micah Parsons-like haul, the Lions should be the last team to give it to them. Not only would they sell their future drafts down the river, but they would also take on a contract that's going to make life hard for them in the next few years. It's not, Mike Payton, it's not, because you're going to restructure the contract anyway. You can restructure the deal in 2026. Bingo. But then you're handcuffing yourself to the idea that you have to extend him in 2027 just to spread out the cap even more. Why not? It's a constant kicking of the can down the road for a player who's going to be 29 years old before he plays his first down in Detroit. Okay, cool. What that mean? Right? If he can play until he's 33, then you got 4 years. Look, if the Lions somehow pull this off without the crazy Parsons Hall thing and they just take the hit in 2026, it makes sense. But I don't think the Raiders are even thinking about trading him, and I don't think the Lions would be the team to trade for him. Again, if you allow the cap to be the reason that you don't do that, I'm going to be pretty upset about it. The draft, look, if you give up 2 first-round picks, you've drafted Max Crosby this year for pick number 17. That's who you drafted. Next year, you just don't have the pick. That's fine. But you might have a Super Bowl, depending on how the rest of the offseason shakes out. Extend Sam Laporta and Brian Branch. The Lions have been good about getting their guys paid, but with both Laporta and Branch's status for 2026 up in the air, the Lions would be wise to push off their extensions for 1 more year. I'm fully ready to be wrong about this one, but with money kind of tight, it just makes sense to push this one off. This one I don't hate. I don't hate not extending those 2 guys until you know what their health looks like. We're sitting up here talking about Kirby Joseph and should he have been extended when you knew he was dealing with something. You had to know a degenerative knee issue doesn't just pop up overnight. So you had to know something, and you didn't do the proper physicals and all these other things. So without a 100% clean bill of health, Sam Laporta shouldn't be extended. Brian Branch shouldn't be extended. You have to know what it is that you're dealing with when they're coming back from injury. So I do not hate that one at all. I think that would be rather responsible of them. Restructure Aleem McNeil's contract. The Lions could do a restructuring with McNeil's deal and open $17 million, but then the Lions don't have an out until 2028. The thought process here is that the Lions need to find out if McNeil is the guy he was before the ACL tear or if he's the guy he was once he came back. He struggled in 2025. It's fair to give him another year to see if he can get back on track. Don't make a move with him till you know the answer. Again, I do not hate that take. I'm not in accustomed to agreeing with Mike Payton. But with the Aleem McNeil thing, again, with restructuring, you do tie yourself more to a player. There's certain contract stipulations that can allow you to get out of a contract. And then if you restructure Aleem McNeil this season, then you will remove your ability to do that until 2028. So that's not something that I want to do. Now, what I would do is include him in the Max Crosby trade package. That's what I would do. All right. Finally, what they're not going to do is use the franchise tag. Pretty simple. The Lions haven't used it since 2018 when they franchise tagged Ezekiel Ansah. They're not going to use it this year because there really isn't a player worth using it on. These are all facts. It's amazing that I made it through an entire Mike Payton article without anything negative to say. Look, I like Laporta, pause, but I will start a one-man riot if we don't re-sign Branch. I'm not opposed to re-signing Branch, but again, I don't want to do it this year. And it's the same thing. It's the Kirby Joseph thing. You know, now we've got one safety with a degenerative knee condition that somebody had to know about in the building, and we gave him money. We got another safety who tore his ACL late in the season, and then you'd give him money without seeing him play, without knowing if he's going to return. I definitely would not do that. How about Tyreek Hill? You know, he's no longer a Dolphin. Yeah. They released him and Chubb today, so yes, I have to see him on the field again before we sign Branch. I love him, but I have to see him back on the field. This is 100% facts. You don't want a Tracy Walker situation, but Tracy Walker had just gotten his deal and then he blew out his Achilles and then he never was the same when he came back. But in this situation, the Achilles was torn before the extension was due. So now you have the opportunity to see what he's got, see if he's going to return to form. Has he lost a step? Is this step get backable? You know what I mean? Can he find it again? So on and so forth. All right. Good. Got one more article. And this is the one that I was talking about before. Not saying this year, but I'm not saying that we won't resign Branch at all. So what do you do if he's clearly lost a step? You know, could you re-sign him after he's clearly lost a step? I don't know if you should do that. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't know. All right. Here's another Mike Payton article. If I agree with Mike Payton on this one, this is crazy. You might start wanting to look up in the sky and see if something's coming. You know what I'm saying? Some ships, you know? All right, Detroit Lions free agency profile questions need to be answered before possibly bringing back Amik Robertson. As I said, this is Mike Payton, A to Z Sports. We're getting closer to NFL free agency opening, and over the next few weeks, you'll see the Detroit Lions begin to bring back some of their own players on new contracts. With that in mind, we'll be profiling multiple Lions and discussing whether they'll be coming back. We've already talked about Alex Anzalone, El-Quadin Muhammad, and Khalif Raymond. Today, we talk about Amik Robertson. Why Amik Robertson stays in Detroit. 2025 was not Robertson's best season. In fact, it was pretty rough. There's really no other way to look at it. With that said, having a veteran cornerback on the roster who can play inside and outside is not a bad idea if you want that player to be part of a rotation and not a starter. This is where Robertson really fits well. Why Amik Robertson does not come back to Detroit. 2025 was not Robertson's best season, but it was expected to be. That's the big problem here at the end of the day. Going into 2025, the Lions had things figured out. Robinson could be back to the slot, could go back to the slot where he was really good in 2024. And the combination of him, DJ Reed, and Terrion Arnold was supposed to be really good. The problem is that two of those guys got hurt, and Robertson found himself as a hybrid corner the rest of the way. And it did not work out. He allowed a passer rating of 110.5 in 2025. That is one of the worst in the league and essentially means quarterbacks were targeting him because they felt he was close to a sure thing. He allowed 6 touchdowns and many explosive plays. It was just rough. In the headline, we talked about answering questions. There are a lot of them. But the one that's above all of them is, do the Lions want a near total reset at cornerback? The answer is that for the third year in a row, they should. This time, they need to get it right. Sadly, getting it right does not mean bringing back Robertson. Amik Robertson contract projection. It's going to be hard to see Robertson get more than a prove-it deal from anyone this year. We're talking a 1-year deal worth $4 million with $2.75 million guaranteed. Final prediction. I think the writing is on the wall here. Robertson's 2024 season was so good, and it capped off with him locking down Justin Jefferson. Unfortunately, he was not able to recapture that in 2025. And he had the worst season of his career. I don't know if the Lions look to go all in on that near total reset, but I do believe they look to upgrade in the slot. That puts Robertson on the outside looking in. If it comes down to Laporta and a healthy Branch, I'm taking Branch. That money needs to go down if I'm keeping Amik in a backup role. That's fair. Amik is not the problem. The problem is Amik is constantly being thrust into a number one role when he's not a number one. He's a solid number 3. You are truthful and correct there, Zach J. Listen. I agree with Zach J on what he said. My problem is not with Amik Robertson, and Amik Robertson is not the problem. But here's also the other question that you have to ask yourself. We want the Lions to change some things. Alex Anzalone is probably gone. So that means that you shift to a 2 linebacker set. Unless you want to force someone else on the field, because Malcolm Rodriguez is a free agent. So who do you have that you trust on your roster that can be a starter, a third starter in the 3-man linebacker unit? You've got a Mike, a Will, and a Sam. And that's how it's always been played, and that's how the Lions are going to do it. Even though the top defenses in the league use nickel the vast majority of the time. Do you guys know? Shout out Easy in the heavyweights. That Nick Emanwari was on the field for 94% of the snaps in Seattle. 94% of the time they played that nickel. So should you re-sign Amik Robertson and continue doing what you've been doing, or should you say, let's change our defensive philosophy? We've got a couple nickel candidates. We've got Terrion Arnold, who played that position. What is it? The star position in college, where he's like the hybrid nickel corner person. And you've got Brian Branch, who is injured. And we don't know when he's coming back. So do you modernize your defense, or do you continue to square peg round hole? I'll tell you what. You can square peg round hole with this defensive scheme, and I really don't care. But if you're going to do that, you better not give that quarterback any time. Remember, the Detroit Lions were last in time to throw. We gave the most time to throw to all the quarterbacks in the league that we played against. So that's the question here. But the fact that we still don't have a number one CB, in my opinion, seems like a waste to bring Amik back. I mean, DJ Reed's your number one, right? We have to go to a big nickel or find a linebacker that can cover. Rodrigo isn't a good cover linebacker. What up, though, Lions, bro? Detroit. Again, I've told you about my opinion of the big nickel, and it's just a more versatile player. If you've got a big nickel who he's a defensive back, you alleviate the whole coverage linebacker thing. Alex Anzalone's value is so high because he's decent in coverage. So just bring in a guy who is used to covering all the time. A big nickel is a safety that was converted to nickelback, or a corner that was converted to nickelback. His trade is coverage. That's what he does. That's what he does for work. He covers. I would like to see the Lions revamping this defense. I think we all would. Big nickel, that's a quarter. Facts. What do you think signing LB Leo Chanel to this roster? To replace Derek Barnes? Leo Chanel is good, but if you're going to put him out there as a third linebacker, I'm not interested. I think we need to get away from the three linebacker set. The defense hasn't really worked. since Brad and Dan got here. This is a philosophy that was brought in when Dan came. This man heavy, scheme that we don't really get away from, even with all the injuries that we have. I don't know. I just feel like things need to be done differently. We can't just continue. Again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So we're asking you to do something different. We're not asking you to do the same thing over and over. I think that having all of these pending free agents, especially on the defensive side of the football, is a blessing in disguise. Because it allows you to evaluate what you want to do when you're signing these people back or you're choosing not to sign them back. DJ Reader is gone. So this is what I mean. Like, what do you want to do as a defense? Because this ain't working. This is not working. We're forever playing man defense. Yes. We've got to figure something else out. I don't know, man. I don't know. But you know what time it is? Mailbag. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they're reading you? Snicks, mailbag. Get your mailbag questions in. Get them in. Basket it. All right, get your mailbag questions in, man. I'll take a few. What's my opinion on Bradley Chubb being a legit target? He's not a legit target. Listen, so until Bradley, Matthias, Ignatius, Melvin, Shakespeare, D'Artagnan, Figueroa, Horatio, Bartholomew Holmes makes a concerted effort to bring in a big name free agent or a bigger name free agent or a known free agent by some capacity, not some obscure player that we played one time, like Roy Lopez. Roy Lopez turned out to be good, though. So until something is different and done different, I don't know. Until we do something different, bro, it's just no one is a legit target. They're just not. How many teams run a traditional 4-3 defense with slow linebackers like the Lions? Not many. Not many. He got a long name. Yeah, it keeps getting longer. It keeps getting longer. Whatever I feel in the moment. Most of the top defenses run nickel, bro. Most of the top defenses run nickel. I don't know how you look at all these people around you and you go, we're good. I don't understand the whole we're good thing. I just don't. It's crazy to me. It's really crazy. Good defenses run a big nickel or the star, which Alabama called it, or Viper, which Michigan called it, or called it under Don Brown. It's just a more dynamic defense. You've got a guy out there. I mean, look at freaking Witherspoon in the Super Bowl, bro. Look at Eman Wari. Look at like these players out here who the Lions, maybe they didn't have a chance to draft Witherspoon, and maybe they were really high on Witherspoon, and Witherspoon was gonna be the pick, but you didn't get him. You know, Eman Wari could have been the pick for you in the third round, but you just had to have Isaac Tesla. So you thought, hey, I should trade up for Isaac Tesla, but you didn't say, hey, let me trade up for Nick Emanwari. I don't know, dude. We just don't. Listen. Dan Campbell, and I'm not saying anything crazy. I don't think Dan Campbell gets enough blame for the state of the coaching staff. He wanted to do things the same way that things have been done since he got there. And he found that Chubb would do those things. So he hired him. There wasn't even any discussion. There wasn't even any interviews for the defensive coordinator position this offseason. So I don't know, dude. Like, I really don't. It's long because we add a name every time Melvin re-signs an injured player. So what's the name that you are going to add when Melvin re-signs Davenport? Fired. Fired is the name I'm going to add when he re-signs Davenport. Everyone is playing 4-2-5 defense. And we're not. We're playing 4-3. Sometimes we play 4-4. Sometimes we play 4-4. You know, we stock up on linebackers and the Trevor Nowalskis of the world, and so and bring them to the practice squad. And what was that dude's name that never? I don't think he played. Maybe he played a snap. Was it Ty Summers? Oh, we like him. Let's like a DB. A DB that can help us out. Let's like that. Agree. Both coordinators hired last offseason were horrible. Yes. Big facts. So I don't know, bro. We'll see what happens. Free agency is fast approaching. Free agency starts on March 11th, but unofficially on the 9th. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing the Lions actually do something, even though I don't know. That name will be fire. I just posted about this too. I'm worried about it because of the injury history with him. Kind of gives off Davenport vibes, but I have to admit it. He has to be considered as an option. He had 8.5 sacks last year coming off an injury. Marcus Davenport had 0. So yeah, I feel like it's a little bit different. And that's where, that's where Brad, that's where Brad likes to shop. He likes to shop in the bargain bin. That's why they call him Bargain Bin Brad. So technically Chubb can sign before free agency. Yeah, because he was just cut. But that won't happen. Not here. That won't happen here for sure. Okay, I'm sorry. He had 1 sack. Okay, my bad. I don't want to shortchange him. He had 1 sack. That's awful. That is awful. You're a professional football player. And your job is to sack the quarterback. And you only did your job once this year. That's crazy. My question is, why are we always focused on offense when in reality the defense needs to be fixed? We just need to plug in some old linemen. The defense is holding us back. That's been the Achilles heel of this regime, man. The Achilles heel of this regime has been neglect of the defense. And I can't say that it has been neglect 100%, but what I can say is there's been a lot of people there have been a lot of picks and resources allocated to this defense that weren't made and allocated with the mindset of having a top 5 defense. It was like, we got a top 5 offense and all we need is for our defense to be serviceable because we're going to outscore everybody, which is not the case. It's not the case at all. I mean, you saw it in the Super Bowl. You saw it throughout these playoffs. What I can tell you that I noticed, and probably many of you noticed while watching the playoffs in the Super Bowl, the defenses were on full display. The defenses were on full display for anybody who wanted to see and then anybody who wanted to understand that. So it's I don't know. We just can't get right. We just can't get right. We just don't know what to do on defense. Are the Lions even interesting to other players to even want to come here? A lot of players love Dan, but always state that the leadership doesn't know how to use their weapons. I mean, time will tell. Time will tell. I would hope just defensive players come in here and go, hey, man, if all they had was a defense or all they need to have is a defense and they'll be straight, they'll be Super Bowl contenders every year, and then they want to come here, that would be great. Wow. The QB fell down. You touched him down. A lot of fans have been saying defense, but unfortunately, we are just fans, LOL. Maybe Ignatius to start listening to us. It's kind of hard to win when the opposing defense won't allow you to score. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Y'all play too much. Just let me score a couple times. Why y'all play so much? All right, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Appreciate you for coming through. If you have not, go on to themockermachine.com. All right. Please go there. Tell me about any bugs. Sign up with your friends. Do the GM mode against your friends. See how that works out. Do your draft. I'm working on another project right now that it was supposed to be finished ages ago, but I'll try to squeeze some updates back into the mock machine, and put them out so it can make your experience better. But whatever you have, there's a room in the Discord right now that allows you to report bugs and things of this nature and suggestions. So I'm taking bug reports, I'm taking suggestions. So make sure you go ahead and do that. Appreciate you. Do you think it's time to start looking for a backup QB? We don't have one. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we need one because if Jared Goff goes down, that's the end of the season, buddy. For sure, for sure. If we let Reader walk, do you think Tyreek is the future at nose, or do we fill that with someone else? And do you think we bring back Lopez? I think we should be bringing back Lopez. Reader is gone pretty much. I don't see any way that he comes back. I don't think Tyreek is the future. I wasn't impressed. So we'll see. I mean, he was a rookie. We'll see if he's got anything alongside Aleem McNeil. So we'll see. But getting somebody else in here on as a defensive tackle is not a priority of mine at all. If you sign a mid-level free agent for something cheap, fine. But, bring back Roy Lopez, go ahead and get a serviceable rotational player on top of that for the defensive tackle position. And, if Tyreek can't cut it, he just can't cut it. But right now, I don't think it's a need at all that we need to address. I have to send you what I found on the mock machine. One major problem is it doesn't save sign-in emails. It doesn't? I thought it did. Okay, do that. All right, y'all. Once again, the Motor City Cats are indeed back at it. We came to give you stats, none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your lines news pragmatic. And we're out. We shall see you tomorrow. Peace.